Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are here live with another episode of Queer Coffee and Conversation. I'm your host for today, Michael Chacha Tedesco. I'm just loving that new theme music we have. It's like the newest thing that we added, but we have a special guest today, Harry Culpepper Jr. I am so excited to have you with us.
I'm excited to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's a pretty day. I thought it was supposed to be starting to rain at like noon and the sun's still out, so I'm not complaining.
It was cooler this morning. I actually went for a walk downtown because I was like, I'm going to enjoy the cooler temperatures in the morning and, walk through Falls Park. It was like the perfect morning to do that.
Right.
No running yet?
I already did my run.
Oh, well, we're going to get to all of that because he's been running like Forrest Gump. But before we get into that, I just wanted to do a shout out really quick. We are here to thank our partners because I guess this is a self-indulgent moment, but yours truly will be a guest judge next week, Thursday at the Iron Caterer Throwdown at Larkins. I'm going to be a guest judge now, so I guess it's time for me to start tasting my taste buds for something delicious to eat. But this is the third year that they've done this. Every year, I think the past 2 years they've done this at Larkins. Basically, they work with a few local caterers in town to kind of do the best of the best. So I'll be judging along with a few other local people. Have you been to this before, Harry? Have you heard of this competition?
I have not. I was just going to ask, how can I get a gig judging? Because I love to eat. So
I mean, I love food, you can tell. And this is going to be so good. Actually, the way it kind of worked out is our photographers for the wedding are the ones who are running this competition, and they asked me to do it. So we just want to say a quick thank you to our partners. We are working with Greenville Yoga, Modal, the New Modern Hostel, Bar Margaret, Sovereign, and Junto Coffee. They are going to be providing to us a special gift basket that we will be raffling off at the Iron Caterer Throwdown. So if you're attending this event, we will have an Upstate Pride, a silent auction basket, including items, again, from Greenville Yoga. They're going to be providing us with a month free membership, a $50 gift card for Modal, and then $25 gift cards for Bar Margaret, Sovereign, and Junto Coffee. So if you're going to be at the Iron Caterer Throwdown, look for me. I'll be trying everything I can, and, it's going to be delicious. But we will just throw a little thank you on the screen really quick for our friends. And we have a couple comments. People watching, Jennifer Robinson, Harry's bow tie.
Yay.
I think we have a story behind the bow tie. I know the person who makes them, but I'll let you kind of tell everyone where the bow tie is from first.
Oh yeah, I shout out to a Dapper Sandlapper bow tie, our good friends, Nick Kamala, which you all know, and then Chris Foster actually cuts my husband's hair. So that's kind of that connection came in. I don't have hair for him to cut, so I buy the bow ties to make up for that. I a few years ago fell in love with wearing a bow tie to work. It was actually when I was teaching elementary school, I started to wear a bow tie, and all my kids were like, "Oh, we love your bow ties." So it just kind of became a thing, and I wear bow ties to school every day.
I feel like I'm easier with the ones that are pre-tied for you.
Oh no,
because it's too much work to do it in the morning.
No.
It's like, I know Nick has told me many times how I have a bow tie from him too. He did the bow ties for a wedding, but
yeah,
it's so hard to tie a bow tie. We'll have to have him on here to do a tutorial live, or maybe you should show us too.
We should. I mean, he's great, and he does custom ones. He made a custom pair for our 10-year wedding anniversary. So
it's beautiful. Well, you were talking about teaching. I guess we could start with that. So for folks who may not know you, I know we have some friends watching. Jennifer Williams Rowe says, "Go Harry." But for those who may not know Harry Culpepper Jr., tell us, you're a teacher, you're an educator. I mean, tell us kind of how it all began.
Yeah, I originally started out as an actor. I'm from good old Belton Honea. I went to BHP. If those of you who are watching know that, that's my hometown. But I went to school for musical theater and worked for a few years professionally, and then got recruited to teach at the Deaf and Blind School in Spartanburg, because both my parents and my grandparents were deaf. So my entire childhood was growing up in the deaf world. And then I just fell in love with teaching. And this year is year number 17 in teaching. So I'm a theater teacher. I've taught elementary all the way up through high school, and I've taught deaf students.
Wow.
I've taught it all.
I
Yeah.
had no idea about that. That's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. One of my earlier memories was we directed at the Deaf and Blind School. We did a whole blind production of Annie Jr. And we were one of the first, because it was kind of interesting, because I tried to reach out to MTI about getting a Braille script.
Of
And
course.
at that time, that wasn't even a thing. So, you know.
You were trying to set the bar back then, before. I mean, now we have like sensory friendly performances, and you know, it's almost a must now to offer ASL interpreted performances.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know, when I was in college, I after my freshman year, the program I was in was very competitive. And needless to say, after my freshman year, I didn't know if I had the heart and wanted to do it anymore. It was intense. And my mom took me to see Miss Saigon at the Peace Center.
Oh my gosh, my favorite show.
And it was a sign language production. They had the ASL interpreters, and that was a pivotal moment for me. It was amazing to see it all in sign language. And I just knew, okay, well, theater, I have to stay in theater now. There's no way I can change it. So
you've been teaching theater through elementary school. So all these 17 years have been teaching just theater.
Yes. Yeah, I've taught.
That's so great to hear, because, you know, so many districts don't have theater programs like that.
Right.
Especially where I'm from, up in Rochester, New York, theater was something after school. Theater was something that you did when the school day was over. You couldn't really do that as part of your class.
Right. Yeah. Well, I taught at Hilton Head Island School for Creative Arts in Beaufort County, which was an arts integrated school. So it was 1st through 5th grade theater program within the school, as well as integrating the arts. So we would use, you know, dance to teach science concepts, and theater to teach social studies, and music to teach math. So I spent 6 years at that school, and it really, it made me who I am as a teacher, for sure.
That's beautiful. And now with the school starting up again, especially with being a theater teacher,
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's talk about school in general. I mean,
okay.
What's it been like with the summer? Like, how has everything been in your perspective? We haven't really had a teacher's perspective on this program just yet with COVID and everything.
It's hard. It's bittersweet. It's nerve wracking. It's, you know, our spring, you know, when everything shut down, you know, our big spring production, like any other high school.
Hairspray, right?
It was supposed to be Hairspray, and it got, right now it's canceled. We don't know what is going to happen. You know, there's a lot of guidelines that are still being, you know, things that we think of. It's just like with the medical field and in general, like you have this set plan, you realize, okay, well, ABC isn't being effective, so we got to switch to D, E, and F. So we don't have any productions planned for this year because there's too many unknowns. We're working on ways to figure out some Zoom type online digital performances for our students, because, you know, I mean, you know, Woodmont's theater program, it's big. We do 4 shows. We do as many shows as some community theaters.
Very impressive theater program. You should be proud of that.
Thank you. Well, I stepped into some big shoes that have been handed down, and I've had some amazing coworkers. Shout out to Erin Gill, my work wife. But my first time at Woodmont, I had a great time working with Jonathan Long, and he took over the program at Palmetto, which is Will Ragland went to Palmetto and then moved on. And that's how we've all kind of trickled in through Woodmont. It's kind of funny how we're all connected through Woodmont.
It's crazy to imagine, you know, when was it, last year or maybe before the holiday, we had that amazing experience with Once on This Island when Philip Boykin was in town. It's like Wow, like less than a year ago, we were doing that, and to
It
look
feels
back
like,
and
right? It feels like it's been ages, but at the same time, yeah. Well, I don't. I've got my Coke Zero, so cheers to
that's
that.
good too. But you're
Um,
right. It's so you go back to school in a couple of weeks, right?
Next week, actually, teachers. We started last week with Teacher Week, and then this week was a leap week for elementary and middle school. But we go back next week, and it is literally it's a 1 day a week attendance plan right now. So like we have a quarter of the school on each day to make sure we can fully social distance the students and keep it safe.
Of course.
I have desks in my black box theater. I have not had desks in a theater classroom since probably 2005. So this
I'm
is,
so curious, like if you can tell us, like if we're walking into your classroom, what will we be learning? What will it be like?
I'm going to be transparent, and I'm still figuring that out. I have no problems telling my students that we're going to be learning how to do this together. I tell my kids all the time.
I think that's even more exciting, though. That's
It
an
is
exciting. It's given the times we're in, it's so detrimental.
right.
But I think going on this journey with the students is going to be something that will build this year to be even stronger.
Absolutely. I would say right now, my first approach is going to be very academic approach to theater. Not that theater isn't academic, but we're going to be doing a lot of theater history and reading a lot of scripts and analyzation, things that we may not be able to, safely social distance if we're up and moving around and doing movement, where it'll be which is normally what my theater classroom is. They're not normally sitting down very much, but
I don't think your classroom would be the one to be sitting down. I feel like you've got them moving, you've got them shaking. If
we
you've seen
try.
Harry's TikToks, he can dance.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm a mover and a shaker. I don't know that I would
I
call
say the
myself,
same thing.
I wouldn't say dancer, but I'll take the title if we're giving it out. So
Right?
yeah.
No, I mean, that reminds me, what you explained kind of doing for teaching reminds me of what I did when I was in college. My Theater 101. It's like we were sitting at the desk reading some
Yep.
Shakespeare,
Yep.
The Odd Couple, things that were just two people. It's kind of, you get back to the basics, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to do everything I can to make it as fun and engaging as it would normally be, but we'll see. We're going to experience, and I have a virtual class too, so I'm going to be one of my sections is 100% virtual. I'm learning a lot of technology things that
Zoom is your best friend.
I've never felt more old school lately than I have ever felt in my career, because I'm like, there's so many new technological things that we can be doing that I had no idea about. So it has re-energized an excitement about teaching that I didn't realize was going to happen. So
No, and we've even seen that too with Pride. I mean, we were meant, Arthur Alvarez says hi Harry as well, but we were talking about being able to connect with our LGBTQ plus community during this time.
right.
Upstate Pride typically just has done one monthly social. We were doing them in Spartanburg or Greenville. And now we're almost interacting with people on a weekly basis, twice a week, and being able to connect virtually. And we have some very, very, very big plans for November, which we will be announcing sometime soon. As you know, we have to move Pride online. But being, a question I have, being in the school community and being, an out teacher, a proud teacher of who you are, what has, especially in the South, if you can say, what has it been like, trying to navigate gay straight alliances or, being able to provide a place for students, especially, I could speak from my own story, being a theater student myself. The theater community is where students often go who don't feel like they belong somewhere else. The theater is where everyone just feels embraced. So I guess talk about that a little bit. Talk about, what's it been like in the schools in the South, especially trying to help those students navigate?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey to get to where I am now. as open as I am now. At a time, I taught elementary school. It was never lie about it, but it was kind of like a don't ask, don't tell approach. So anytime elementary kids would ask, "Are you married?" Like, "Are you?" I would always say, "Is that a theater question? Like, does that have anything to do with theater?" That was my,
Yeah.
punt around that. But it wasn't until when I taught high school down there that some of the kids that I taught in elementary school that I got to high school, I did my getting to know Mr. C PowerPoint, and they knew because I'd been in Hilton Head for like 10 years 8 years at that point. They knew that I was married to a man, and they just flat out confronted me and said, "Why didn't you include your husband in your PowerPoint?" And I was like,
wow,
okay, well, you're right. I should have.
That's powerful to hear.
Right? I mean, it was like kids that I had known that just straight up called me out on it. And it wasn't that I was like, I just didn't include it because I didn't know that I could talk about it. So ever since that moment for me,
turning point.
And the kid who called me out has since come out himself. And I knew then that if I was going to hide it, then what am I telling my kids? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So ever since then, I've been very upfront. He's in my PowerPoint. Our wedding day is
You're
in
gonna make me cry.
Oh no, I mean, it's just, but there was a time where I was scared to do that. We're lucky in education, especially in the upstate. The upstate has such a diverse population that other areas of the state and our country might not have. So with that comes tolerance and awareness. Might not always mean that they agree, but they'll at least respect and move on. And I've always that's been my approach. You don't have to agree, but as long as we mutually respect each other, we're good. That's what we need to be, and that's what I've tried to model. In terms of gay straight alliances, we're working on developing that. In our school community, that's not official yet, but there are several GSAs around the upstate and at various high schools, which I think is necessary. And a GSA does not mean that every student in that group identifies gay or lesbian.
Exactly. It could be an ally.
Right. It's meant for students who want other students to feel safe, period. And I think, honestly, just by being myself and being authentic, it's become like a known thing in our school community. And so I feel like kids know that I'm a safe space regardless of what they are. You know what I mean?
I think we all need teachers like that growing up. I mean, I wish I had a teacher like that growing up. We feel, like you said, I didn't come out until, my friends knew in high school, but I hadn't come out even to my family until after high school.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been different had a teacher like that been involved.
I agree. I'm the same way. I feel like I want to be the teacher that I didn't get to have when I was a little kid, that'll get me a little choked up, but
we talk about everything here. It's okay.
But that's at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about representation. Am I the teacher that has like a big pride flag hanging in my room? No, I don't have that. Do I wear this pride bow tie? Absolutely, I wear it to school. But I'm just being me, and I think by being me, students know that it's normal, it's safe, it's okay. It's not something to be hated or feared.
Yeah. It's the representation. It's the
Right.
representation that's key, especially with being able to see a teacher who may look like you or act like you or have some interest like you. And I think that's normal.
Yeah.
We need the acceptance these days. You know it.
We're trying. Yeah, I hear you.
Especially with the election coming up in November.
Oh, geez. That's whew. These next
I know. We were talking about the Democratic convention before, and like I said, we're going to give both conventions equal respect, but I may watch one more than the other.
Well, I always try and make a point to watch both because yeah. It's important to know every perspective. You know, it all makes
Yeah.
more well-rounded and better people when we can see the whole picture.
And as I say that, I'm going to say vote, 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 register to vote.
It is important to vote.
I'm sure you're registered to vote.
I am. Yep.
It's going to be a very busy day at the polls, I think.
Well, listen, I actually was a poll worker back in June for the primaries.
Oh my gosh, tell us about that.
It was it was a very emotional day, I will say.
Wow.
Moving, inspiring to be a part of that. You know, there were people who, I mean, at one point there was a line out the building, the sweetest old lady who, you know, with her walker, and I asked her if I could bring her curbside, and she said, "Oh no, I'm walking to that poll." She said, "I'm 80-some years old. You know, there was a time I'm going to walk up to that poll." I was like, "Yes, ma'am, I hear you." So, you know, it was just inspiring to see people exercise their right to vote, you know, and it was a really cool experience. I haven't decided whether I'm doing it in November yet or not, because one, I want to be able to personally vote, because in November, because of where I may be assigned, I may not be able to. I may have to do absentee. And the other part is I also want to volunteer to help drive people to the polls and things like that. So I don't want to get tied up, you know, if
we agree.
Yeah.
We have a couple of our board president, Rodney Tao, is actually going to be working one of the polling locations that day, and he's encouraged the board members to do it as well. And
yeah,
we are also encouraging our community. If you're listening, watching, watch this later, you know, I think it would be fascinating to have people of the LGBTQ plus community at the polling places.
Yeah.
I even want the drag queens to work the polling places. I mean, we need to vote. I mean, as a nonprofit organization, we cannot endorse any candidates, but we will stand for candidates who believe in LGBTQ plus rights, which I think there's a clear line in the sand.
Yeah.
Cassidy did say, "I just signed up to volunteer to be a poll worker. Any advice?" Oh, here,
yes,
perfect opportunity to answer a question. Tell us.
I'll tell you. Yeah. Wear comfortable shoes. If you know me,
you were standing all day then.
I was on you were on your feet the entire day. And at our polling place, we were there because we had to do extra setup and tear down for COVID regulations and had to put tape lines down and signs and all this stuff. I was there literally, no exaggeration, 18 hours. And I was in flip-flops. Bad idea. Because
I love a good flip-flop, you know that. So
me too. I'm all about the bow ties, flip-flops, you know, and I have my American flag bow tie on. So comfortable shoes. 100% shoes that you can wear all day, because I literally had to limp out to my car afterwards. And the other thing that I didn't, I think a lot of people may or may not realize with voting, whether you're working the poll or attending the poll, you cannot wear anything that endorses a candidate specifically. So it was, they encouraged us to dress patriotically. So I dressed red, white, and blue. I had my American flag bow tie, but there were a couple of people that we had to ask to turn their shirts inside out because they were wearing T-shirts that had a
campaign slogan
or person on it. So that would be my other piece of advice, to make sure that your clothing does not promote a party or candidate, because that's a no.
So you can't wear just a whole blue suit from head to toe.
I think you can actually. When I say, I probably shouldn't have said party. Sorry.
Oh no, but if I was working the polls that day, I'd probably wear full on blue eyelashes, blue makeup. I mean, it would be blue from head to toe. And we have Erica Chanel saying, "Yes, drag out the vote." She's one of our drag out the vote drag ambassadors.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. I'm like, if we were able to congregate in person, we'd probably be doing tons and tons and tons of register to vote events, because there has been some really heart-stirring words said this week. And any comments to say about that? We can talk about any feelings we've had
I
watching the
also have
speeches.
to kind of be as neutral as possible in that world, being a teacher. And um,
Very
but
true.
but that being said, it was just, I think for me, it was inspiring to see the diversity that was shared with the state roll call.
I loved that.
I just
And I
think
really want some calamari now.
I think the conventions, Democratic or Republican, need to handle roll call like that from now on, because it was so personal, it was special, it was meaningful. You got to see our country, you got to see the different people and the different locations. And I think, our world is getting smaller. At more and more every year with social media and technology, our world is getting smaller and smaller. And I think it's so important for us to be exposed to and see things that
All different.
we've never been able to see before, So
Yeah.
that was a smart move, and I thought it was beautiful.
You're right. I think that was you're right. Regardless of the party, I think that is a very intentional way to show diversity on all sides of the political spectrum, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever you are. To see to see our world, to see our United States of America all like that, it was beautiful.
Right.
And we had South Carolina represented. Jamie Harrison was on.
Yep.
And I believe Jim Clyburn was speaking from Charleston as well.
Yes, he did speak. Yes.
So we'll have to see what's in for tonight and next week. But
We'll see.
but I wanted to also ask you,
Yeah,
about your transformation. You had posted a picture on your Instagram.
Yeah.
I think it was from how many years ago?
Well,
it was a side by side.
Oh, that was from 4 years ago when I first started teaching at Woodmont High School. It was my school ID picture.
So you've been on a journey since you started teaching, it seems.
Yeah.
Personal, professional.
Yeah. The past 2 years has been a health journey. I walked into the doctor's office one day after having cellulitis. It seemed like every time I would go into Tech Week of our spring musical, I would get cellulitis. And come to find out, well, one, I was physically not. I was extremely overweight. And the doctor just gave me this, it literally yelled at me. And it's funny, and story is he's the same doctor I had before I moved to Hilton Head. Then I moved to Hilton Head. 8 years later, we moved back. I went back to him. So I've known this doctor since I was 24, 25.
Wow.
So I guess he felt like he could. I mean, he yelled at me like my dad would yell at me, and basically said, if you don't do something, you're going to have a heart attack. And so I fluctuate with dieting, but I started running. And when I first started, it was every other day, just a couple of miles. And then last year, Jeremy, my husband, convinced me to do this run streak challenge with Runner's World, where you run from Memorial Day to July 4th. So that was last summer, and I did it. And then I just kept going. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it the whole summer. And then school started, and I told my kids that I had ran like 100 and something days straight. And they were like, well, keep going. And so I was like, you're right. I don't have a reason to stop. And so here I am. Today is day 452 of running at least 2 miles a day on average. But I do the Galloway method. So it's not like I'm this straight, fast runner. It's like a run walk.
Oh, share us your secrets, please.
Well, it's no, I can't take credit for it, but Jeff Galloway developed a run walk method where you run for a certain interval and you walk for a certain interval. It could be like you walk for 30 seconds, you run for 2, you walk for 30 seconds, you run for 2, or vice versa, or whatever your body will do. And it's the point of it is to reduce injury. Because I have another story for another day. I have 2 titanium screws in my left heel. So like sometimes I hurt and
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So because of that, because of the run walk method, I'm able to just keep going, and at day 365, I ran a half marathon, my first one. which was, and when I say ran a half marathon, I wasn't in a race. I just ran 13.1 miles. It was not fast. It was spiritual. That last 30 minutes, I probably cried like 3 times because you just, when you're going that long, it takes some mental endurance, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of been what has been the core of what my journey transitioning and changing my body in terms of like, you know, I am pleasantly plump and squeezably soft. I will always be pleasantly plump. And
that makes 2 of us.
No matter what I do, it's just, that's how I'm built. But, you know, I've lost 80 pounds over the 2 years. I still want to lose a little bit more, just per my doctor's orders. But I've gotten to the point where I love myself and I love who I am and my being. And, you know, I'm now running without a shirt outside, which, you know, I posted about that a while back. That was a big hurdle for me, was a goal to feel like it was okay to run outside in the heat without a shirt on. And I do now. And it's very liberating. I won't be doing it much longer because it's starting to get cooler, but yeah, that's the
you're an inspiration. You're really moving me right now. It's just, you know, you're not going to stop running. You're going to keep going.
That's the plan. Knock on wood, I'm going to keep running until I get injured or somebody tells me that I have to stop. You know,
nobody will tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to his radio, which is a contemporary Christian radio station, and a couple of months ago, that's when I really said, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this. Is they talked about this man who had been running since 1973 every day, and the only reason why he stopped at 80 something years old is because he broke his hip, and they were like, I mean, he ran through having the flu, he ran through having pneumonia. And I just saw, okay, if somebody can do that, I can do it. You know, at one point I had to have a vocal cord injection in Augusta, Georgia, because I have a paralyzed vocal cord.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I literally got up at 2 a.m. I ran 1 mile, literally just 1 mile, 1.01 mile.
How long was that?
How long did it take me to run a mile? Oh, I don't even remember. I think 11 minutes, maybe. I'm a slow runner. Like,
that's fast.
Well, listen, no, trust me.
I don't know how fast I run, but
yeah, no, that was, yeah.
I think that's what I'm getting at is like, I guess where I'm going is the amount of time it takes you to do this. Like, how much time average does it take out of your day? Like, I'm sure it's just a small fraction.
Literally 15, at minimum 15 minutes, maximum 30 minutes. And at the end of the day, you realize that it's become a therapy. It's become a stress relief. You know, I firmly believe it's helped with depression, especially during this pandemic. I guess the takeaway from it is that you're important enough to do something for yourself and your body. So do something for yourself, you know?
Wow, what a message.
Yeah.
This is why we wanted you to join us today, because you're so inspiring.
Oh, you're sweet.
Honestly, you are a story to share. And, you know, I hope Today Show's watching, because I watched the Today Show, and hopefully they can share your story. The fact that you're running every day, I mean, if that's something people can take away, I mean, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, all you need is something like that to keep you moving, active, keeping your brain healthy, your mind healthy, your heart healthy.
It doesn't even have to be a run. Like, it can be a walk. And I will say, I started out the journey.
It could be a dance. It could be a dance.
There you go. Dance. Yes. But, you know, like I started out literally just doing 1 mile, a 2-minute, 3-minute split. I would walk for 2 minutes, run for 3, and I would only do 3 rounds. Now I'm at the point where I'll run an hour. You know, I've built up that, so you can get there. You know, yeah. It's made
it. Go running after this. Who knows?
There you go.
No, but if you're not, if you haven't followed him on social media, how can people find you? Because you do post that you're running, you post that you're doing every day. I love seeing that. It keeps you inspired.
Well, I have two. I have the one that I post all my running on is my personal Instagram, which is H Culpepper Jr. But the one that's like public, because you're being a teacher, I am
Of course.
I try and follow that professional guideline. So in somebody, Jed Dearyberry, who is an amazing also out advocate and educator, inspired me to create an Instagram that was a teacher Instagram that my students could follow. And that is the one that I post publicly, and that's Dash of Culpepper. I was trying
to have it correctly.
Yes, Dash of Culpepper. I was trying to be funny because my students have always said,
a dash of pepper.
I'm very sassy. Say what?
It's like a dash of pepper.
Yes, that was the point. You get a dash of pepper every day. So.
And we're going to share a very sweet message from someone. Jennifer Robinson said, Harry has helped others do a run streak challenge too. He has personally helped me accountable for doing at least 1 mile a day. His posts have spread so much positivity and motivation.
Oh, thank you, Jen.
We have a lot of fans on here.
That's sweet. I am humbled and grateful.
And it looks like she's also from Rochester, New York. She said in a previous comment, which is quite a small world because that's where I'm from too.
Oh, hey, there's a connection.
Oh yeah, someone else said I love mile updates. Billy Grubb says I love the mile updates.
Yeah, I'm obnoxious. I put it on my Snapchat, my Insta story, Facebook. I posted originally to make it accountable to myself because
I was just going to say it's accountability.
It was accountability, and then people started messaging me and saying thank you. Or there was a couple of times where I forgot to post it, and I would get a message that would ask, "Did you do your mile?" And yeah, so then I realized maybe it was something bigger than just my accountability.
And you've been strong through everything. The one thing I'm just going to finish with is, and Jim Dant is also saying hello. Good to see you repping on QC. We love Jim Dant.
Yes,
Jim, if you're watching, this is a personal invitation. You are invited to come on the show as soon as possible.
Listen, Jim Dant and our church has also been a huge impact on myself and my husband. So.
How has that been? I mean, being in the South, I was lucky enough to be at that church before the pandemic. They were doing a screening of Gay Chorus Deep South. And I was I have to be completely honest, I was so taken back because I have never been, it's been a long time personally since I've been to a church. Yeah. And it was so inspiring to just see so much welcoming love. Like, I was clearly there with the Gay Chorus banner and it had pride on it. And it was clearly that it was the LGBTQ themed. And obviously the film they were showing was. And I was just so refreshed to see so many friendly faces of the LGBTQ plus community at a church. And, it feels like such a place.
Were you able to go to the concert live when they did it?
I was, unfortunately, I wasn't there when they actually performed at the church. I heard that was.
Well, that's what led us to this church.
Go ahead.
Jeremy and I got married in 2009 before it was legal. And we had a big old wedding in Savannah, Georgia at a Unitarian church because it was as traditional as a traditional wedding could be. We had bridesmaids, groomsmen, all that stuff.
Oh my God.
But needless to say, we had been visiting several churches, and it was very important for me as someone, faith is very important to me, to get married in a church. And at that time, many churches closed the door in our faces, and not just closed them, it's sent some very hurtful words to us in that process. So we had not been back to a church until and felt that this was where we needed to be until we went to that concert. I mean, I was like, wait a minute, a Baptist church is hosting the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. Okay,
Right?
one, I have to go, period. And literally we started going to that church every Sunday ever since that concert. And it's been amazing to be welcomed and feel a sense of affirmation and acceptance. So I don't know if I'm allowed to plug a church, but that's our home
There's
church.
no rules here, okay? If we get in trouble, we'll find out later.
But we joined and we do love First Baptist Greenville. So.
Well, we'll have to have Jim Dent on. He's definitely worked with Upstate Pride on numerous occasions, so we definitely endorse that church by all means. But I mean, it's really, you have to have some. It's refreshing during times like this to have something spiritual, something faithful to dig into and to go to during these times. I mean, especially with everything going on with the racial inequality.
Yeah.
The time is too long for voices to be gone silent, and people really need to take this time as a way to wake up. And it's great to see messages. I know people have put things on their yard where they have those signs that says Black Lives Matter, love is love. It's like these are messages that we should be sharing. We should be sharing kindness and joy each day and sharing acceptance. The world is our lives are too short to go negatively.
Right. And I think that honestly, that goes back to what I said earlier is you may or may not, nobody says you have to agree with it, but you should respect it and accept that we're all here and we are one human family in all its facets. So we need to, look out for each other while we're here.
And spread the love. Spread
Amen.
the love and share the love.
Amen.
It's like, we'll leave it with this. It's like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. And I think that goes for many things. It goes for many different scenarios in your life.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the approach that everybody in general needs to have, no matter what side of the aisle or whatever wherever you come from, as long as you know that you're going to do your best to take the high road in everything you do, you're going to be just fine, and that's, I think, kind of been my MO, especially more now than ever, is to do the right thing as hard as it may be.
I mean, I don't know how else we can leave it besides saying that. You wrapped it up in a pretty little bow. Do the right thing. I mean, it's simple as that. But I guess before we sign out, I want to give a quick shout out one more time to our sponsors and our community partners with Greenville Yoga, Modal, Bar Margaret, Sovereign, and Junto Coffee. They will be providing us with some wonderful items for a silent auction next Thursday at the Iron Caterer Throwdown. And I guess we will let Harry kind of any closing remarks before we sign out today.
No, just I'm again grateful and humbled to be asked to be on here and share a part of my story, and happy to come back again or whatever. And just know, I think at the end of the day, just know that you are loved and you're enough, and that's important to remember. That's been the message of my Dash of Culpeper initiative with my students and my story. So.
Well, thank you so much. We loved having you. And as a sneak peek, we will have to have his husband on sometime soon because we hear that he's a nurse, and we'd love to get some a nurse's or a hospital perspective on what's happening.
I will work on him and convince him. He's not as a public. He's not a theater teacher. We'll put it that way.
I hear you.
So I'll work on him. Maybe if we appear together, I might have a better chance of.
Oh, we can always do that.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Harry, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Queer Coffee Conversation. We will be back next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.